If you can hear crunching and nibbling in the background, that is Gus. Gus is currently destroying a cardboard box. Hi. I thought it would be a good idea to vlog the process of me writing a book, because I might actually finish one if I do that. So this is where I'm at now. Today is, I don't know the date, is the 13th of November 2022. Currently on Campfire on my project, because I'm using Campfire. And I am 58.4 hours into the project and 7,905 words. And I've got 18 elements, but that jumps around a bit, so I'm not really bothered about that. Oh god, this is why I don't ever fucking talk about writing, because I never know what to say, where to start, any of that. I feel like now's a good time to start this, because the last 60, no, that's not how maths works. The last 50 out of those 60 hours was spent on almost a completely different idea. I had started with the idea of this, essentially a cult living on the top of this mountain, and this old witch that had sucked the magic out of the ground, and these people were trying to get it back. And I think I wrote the first 10,000 words in that before I realised that I had done the thing that I've done in the past, where I've accidentally tried to write the book from an NPC's point of view. So my main character wasn't my main character. It wasn't who it should have been. And when I realised that, I went back and rethought it, and suddenly I had a whole different story that I was even more excited about. So that's the one I'm writing at the moment. There is no more cult. No, there might be a cult. Haven't decided yet. I have the beats of the first 3/4 of the story laid out, but if I know more than that and I write that down, I'm not going to write the story, so I'm not doing that. So I've got the first 5 chapters written out in first draft form, so no one's reading those yet. I have characters that I like. I have a setting that I really, really like. I really like the feel of the moors and like woolen shawls and cozy cottages, but also the inside of a mountain full of books, and like the bureaucracy and the inner workings of how a library works. And I think I've got, in my main character, I can relate to her because I think her brain is going to work a lot like mine. So she's going to be coded kind of neurodivergent. She's definitely going to process her emotions in the same way that I process mine, because I think I've never really seen anyone else do that, and I think that's interesting. I'm mostly writing this off of vibes at the moment, but if that's carrying me through, that's what I'm just going to stick with. So yes, I've been writing this since, I think I started in the summer, and then when I went back to work in September, it was kind of like up and down, and I didn't really stick to it. But no, I feel like I'm starting again, even though I don't want to dismiss all that work that I put in with the original story, because I still think that's important, even though it's completely different to what I'm writing now. It had very similar vibes. I think it showed me what I did and didn't want to include in what I'm writing now. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, one of the things, I think I had a thing going with the cult in the one that I've now scrapped, with everyone was either called by like the name of a type of fish or the name of a type of bird, which I thought was really cool in the beginning, because you have some you've got some, like, some fish have cool names, some fish don't, but some fish do. And I was like, yeah, it'd be so cool. Like, my main character was called Minnow, and I thought that was really cool, so I kind of riffed off of that. And then I got carried away, and then I was like, oh no, this is a bit pants now, I don't want to do that. But no, we've got mostly regular names, slightly out there Gaelic names that I've pulled from various lists across the internet, because I don't always like making up names. They seem more normal, and I'm going to be less embarrassed to have to explain what my characters are called, which I think is a good thing. I've just done, I think I've written about at least 1,000 words across a couple of the chapters this evening, which I'm very happy with, because like in the last couple of writing sessions I've only written 200 or 300 words in one go, but this is better. The reason I think I might actually finish this is because I'm using Campfire, so that's a new thing. I really, really like the way that Campfire is set out, and I'm following the vibes. I'm letting myself write bits of different chapters. Like, I'm not just writing it chronologically, because that used to be how I always used to do things, but now I'm just writing bits in and out of chronological order, and that's how it's working for me. And we're just sticking with that. If I go through with this, and if I film this all the way to the end, I think the main thing I want to come out of this is I want to be less nervous, less reticent to talk about my writing, because it's okay to be crap. And like, I know that, but I don't really know that just yet. So yeah, that's where we're at. Hello, I am ill, so if I sound like an old frog, that is why. I think I've fucking done it again. I've reached the 10,000 word mark on this first draft for the third time for this story, and decided this isn't the story I want to be writing, and I kind of want to scream. I started off, the initial idea I had for this project was a really big one. It was like the stakes affected the world at large. And then I realised that wasn't what I wanted to be writing, because I was writing about the wrong character. After I'd gotten to, I think it was about the 10,000 word mark, if not 15,000. And I was like, fuck, I need to basically just scrap all of it, because I wanted to tell a different story from a different point of view. So I did. And I wrote, this story that I am currently writing now, about a character that I was more interested in, themes that I was more interested in, and I've gotten to the 10,000 word mark and gotten a little bit stuck and just decided this isn't the story I want to be writing either. And I can't work out if this is because it actually isn't the story I want to be writing. Like, it's just not going to work. It's not the idea is still too big. The idea, like, I think the problem I'm having at the moment is that I'm trying to combine a bunch of elements that I really enjoy in books. And I think I've just got too many bits to cohesively join together in a way that makes sense. Because I have my sort of cottagecore witch, cool little wooden mossy creatures on one side, and then I have big library under a mountain, and I've been trying to mash these two things together in both the last story ideas, and it's just not working. And I've decided that the bit I am interested in is the mosslings. So I don't think I've explained what mosslings are before. Mosslings are these little creatures that I came up with. They're basically like little tree spirits. So twiggy bodies, sort of dandelion fluff hair, mossy bits to them, the way that moss would naturally grow on like twigs and stuff. But in my head, in this story, the main nugget of like lore that is now is the bit that I'm clinging to with these stories, is that these mosslings they're a sign of a healthy earth. They're a sign of a healthy earth, an earth that is full of magic, that is full of life, and they look after and they swarm around a moss mother, which is like this gigantic, think Princess Mononoke, gigantic being, like a guardian of the forest, and these little mosslings are the children, or the sort of the caretakers. That's what I'm interested in, because since I had the idea of them, I have wanted to work out who they were, what their lore was. Like, I could not stop thinking about them, because that is the vibe that I want to write in a book. Like, that's what I want to read about, so that's what I'm going to write. And I think I'm now convincing myself as I talk that I just started too big. I started too big because, for me, I have a lot of trouble thinking about abstract concepts. I really struggle with picturing characters. I really struggle with picturing places. So it's much easier for me to go, oh yeah, big world. Yeah, sure, there's a big world, there's a mountain, there's a cult, like, whatever. Like, it's easier for me to move those big pieces around in my head. And this has happened before, because I've written, I think, 50,000 words of a first draft before, and that was all very big, like, oh my god, the world is ending, like, plot stuff. I did have to scrap that because I got to 50,000 words and realised I fucking hated every bit of it. I hated it so much. All the characters were awful. There was no character motivation. I hadn't put enough thought into any of the world. Like, I would have just had to rewrite the whole thing from scratch, and the idea of that kind of made me want to, like, scream. So that draft is sitting somewhere else, but I think I just need to shrink it right down. Yeah, I think I just need to shrink it right down. I think I need to focus on the mosslings and build a small story around them, because I come into a lot of issues when I have geographical locations that are far apart and moving my characters between them and having some sort of reason to move between locations. Like, the issue I'm now having is that you got this big library and you've got this, like, witch's cottage, and having a reason to intertwine the two is not something I can come up with. Right, I just can't make it work in my head. Do you mind? My rabbits are chucking something around. Most of the reason I'm filming this clip now is because I'm psyching myself up to have to scrap the 6 or 7 chapters that I have written and just start again and work out who these characters are in this new story, because there's not going to be much change. I think the main character is going to stay and the main witch character is going to stay, but I think I have to rejig family dynamics. I have to rejig sort of where they're at. I think it's just going to be focused on, like, a village, because if I make it any bigger than that, I'm just going to get lost again. This is me learning how to write as well. Like, I've never taken any classes. I've never done any sort of professional training. I have had a very on and off relationship with writing. Like, I've written short stories here and there. I've started so many stories. Very rarely finish them. And this time I just want to finish a first draft. Like, I'd love to finish a full book, but I feel like a first draft is a reasonable first goal to aim for. I'm not the sort of person that can write every day, just because I don't, like, that's not how I work. My brain can't handle that. I have, my schedule doesn't allow for that. So I can't get into, like, a writing routine. And filming this as well is interesting for me, because I want to be able to finish this and look back at what I was thinking while writing all this shit. I want to see if I get to the 10,000 word mark again and just go, fuck, let's try it again. It has occurred to me that maybe I should just keep writing from the point that I am at and move onward. But because I am changing the story so fundamentally, I need to have that base to start from. I need to write that base first. It's just so daunting. It's just so daunting having to scrap so many words. Like, part of me is like, I want someone to know how much fucking work I put into this thing and then had to scrap, because that's just the process of book writing. And I know that lots and lots of people know this, but like, I need some vindication. If I'm going to scrap, like, this will be 20k words now that like I quite liked, I thought were quite good, but have no real place in the story as a whole. I need someone to appreciate that. So appreciate it, please, because I did lots of hard work and it needs to amount to something. And now I have to do more hard work. So I'm gonna go work on that now. That's my job. I'm gonna do some work. Top tip, if you wanna focus on getting something written, stop measuring it in word count. Measure it in like the amount of time that you sat down and thought about it, plotted it, planned it. That's one of the reasons I like Campfire, because you have to go to a specific place in the document to access the total word count of the project, but it does also tell you the total hours spent on that project. So I'm like 60 hours in at this point and I'm starting again from what feels like scratch. Yeah, and if I was doing this on a Word document, I don't think I could keep going. It is Saturday night. I have been mentally in a good place about writing, but physically I haven't actually done any all week. So I was gonna do some yesterday, I was gonna do some today, and then I didn't, and then I fell asleep, and then I did a bunch of DIY instead. But it's been what's been on my mind every night before I've gone to bed. So I'm not writing every day, but I don't think that's a problem at the moment. I think I'm still keeping the excitement going. And I mean, I just sat down to film a time lapse and I cranked out more than I expected I would. So well done me. When I write, I like to be in a very specific head space, which is like a headspace where I feel like most myself and everything is like dark and cozy, and a little bit witchy, and just there's a very particular vibe that I have a hard time putting into words, but I've been struggling to get into that vibe recently. Work's been a pain in the ass. Work is always going to be a pain in the ass. I am frequently too tired to do anything after work because work is the way it is. But this weekend it's hopefully going to be a good break. So I spent a lot of time doing DIY and moving some furniture and building some new furniture this morning. We're doing okay. It's slow going, and I think I've come to terms with the fact that this is going to be a slow project. And I just keep having to remind myself that, because I'm very much the sort of person that wants things done yesterday, or I want to just sit down and do it all in one go and get it over with. Because when it comes to like cross stitch or baking or like other little things, I can just sit down and knock them out in like 2 hours, but I can't do that with writing. With writing, I run out of steam very quickly, and I feel like I have to have the scenes blocked out in my head before I sit down and actually start writing. I can't just write with no direction and see where the writing takes me, because that's what I used to do. And I just end up in places that I don't care about and end up having to go back and scrap it all, which is very disheartening. So at the moment, I'm in that very good place where I am able to think about and plot what I want the next scene, maybe 2 scenes, to be about. I'm only like, I think I'm writing the 3rd chapter at the moment, like I'm not very far into any of this. But I'm managing to incorporate elements that I like. I'm still excited about it. And when I sit down now, because I'm going to go back to writing in a second, I will have a pretty good idea of what the next 1,000 words are going to be about also. One thing I'm still fighting about is very much, like, am I writing enough about each segment? Because word count was something that I used to stress about a lot, but because I also have a habit of writing things very, very concisely, I won't necessarily, like, I will have everything fully fleshed out in my head, and I will write down something that is a more concise version of that without realising, and I just won't get across all the elements that I want to talk about. So what I'm telling myself now is that I will write what I think needs to be written in the moment, and then that's just something I'm going to have to deal with in editing. If I need to flesh out some bits, I very rarely need to reduce any sections. But if I need to go back and flesh out some bits, so be it. That's what I'll do. But that's not a problem for me to think about now. The goal with this is to finish the first draft, put it in a drawer, metaphorically, and come back to it after a couple of months when I've had some time to forget about it and I can look at it with fresh eyes. And that's okay. I do not have to be one of those people that can crank out a book in 3 months, because that's just not how my life works. That's not how my brain works. And I'm mostly just saying that to convince myself at the moment. But it's helpful to say it out loud every now and again. Don't rush it, just write. Just sit down and do the writing. Partly filming this clip to prove that occasionally I write in daylight. Not very often, but sometimes. It's yet another Sunday. Writing has turned into a bit of a just a Sunday during the day activity, because that's when George is out and I'm too tired to do it in the week. It's not going to happen, that's fine. Second reason I'm filming this is because I really just need to sit down and write. So in order to film this, I have to be sat down. And now that I'm sat down, I've told myself that I've got to do at least an hour and then I can have a nap. That is my reward, because bribery works every time. And also, if I wait for an hour, if I'm writing for an hour, I won't notice that it's cold, and the heating will have warmed up the house sufficiently so that when I do have a nap, the bedroom won't be fucking freezing. So, with my cunning plan in place, I need to do some writing. Let's do a stats update. It is the 4th. It's Sunday the 4th of December. I don't know how long I've been writing this book for off the top of my head, but I can tell you how many hours it is. I'm on 68.3 hours, 6,742 words, and 16 elements. I don't really care about the elements, because in Campfire that just means how many bits you've got. So whether that's characters or chapters or locations or timelines or arcs or relationships. I don't use all of them. I mostly just use it to have character profiles, specific locations, because I am awful for naming a place and then just forgetting what I named it. So just for continuity, I use the basic stuff like characters and locations. Sometimes I use the magic and relationships bits, but this version of the story isn't complicated enough to warrant me sitting down and doing that, because I find I get quite carried away by the sort of the background work. At this point in time, I think I just have to sit down and write, she says, procrastinating by speaking to a camera. I have spent 2.8 days non-stop writing this book. That doesn't feel long enough For the amount of like iterations I've been through, that doesn't feel like a long enough time. I am also up to 6 chapters. No, 5. I'm about to start the 6th chapter. I'm not the sort, I don't like labelling my chapters with numbers. I was going to say particularly not at this bit. I haven't got further along to work out what I like to do further along in the writing process. I don't like doing it now because the number of times I've decided that I need to shuffle chapters around and then I have to rename the chapters because the numbering system is in the title of the chapter rather than like a bullet point system. That is something that could potentially be improved. Writing is hard. Hello. I have not written in maybe 3 weeks. I have a cracking headache. I had my flu and my COVID jabs on the same day the other day. So I hurt and just feel a bit shit. I'm finally on holiday and I'm recovering from a shitty term, but it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I last wrote. So I've taken painkillers. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do minimum half an hour's writing. If not an hour, we'll see how far I get. But my reward is that if I do at least half an hour, I can then go back to bed. I feel like shit. Let's check where I'm at. So on Campfire, it comes up with your like most recent, and apparently the last chapter I was working on was the family reunion chapter. And all I've written is, I don't love this, change it, thanks. That's not a problem for me now, that's a problem for me later. So, I am on 70.4 hours. Today is the... oh my god, what day is it? It's the 21st of December, 2022. I'm on 70.4 hours and 8,492 words. I'm doing okay. I could be doing worse. What is my head doing? What? Stop. I don't care. Most of the reason that I haven't written in, like, I think it's about 3 weeks, is work has been really hard and I have been mega depressed. I haven't wanted to write. I've written a chapter called... okay. Whoops. I was very pleased with myself that I got to 8,000 words. I'd forgotten that I hadn't deleted the 2 chapters that I needed to delete. So we'll just get rid of those now and I will update. Okay, we're on 6,700. That's what I thought I was on. Basically, apart from being depressed, the other reason I haven't written in a while is because I didn't like where the last 2 chapters had gone. So I've actually just addressed the I don't love this, change this, thanks note for the family reunion chapter because I deleted it. Basically, I tried to write some chapters from Anghara's point of view and I decided that wasn't the way I wanted things to go. So I've deleted it and I've thought of a different way to go back and carry things on from Rosie's point of view because I like having Rosie as the protagonist. And I think at the moment that writing chapters from Anghara's point of view will remove the mystery a bit because now I'm not sure we're actually going to meet her while she's alive. I'm going to reread the end of the chapter, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write the chapter that's been in my head for the last couple of days. Whether or not it links up is a problem for later me. and I'm just going to stop getting bogged down in things. Yes, okay. Cue a time lapse. Good evening. It is the 12th of January 2023. I have done maybe 2 bouts of writing in the last week or so, which is better than the before Christmas slump. Stats update, I have done 75.4 hours of work and I am on 9,790, and I don't want to change the plot or rewrite anything. I think I've finally found the niche I'm going for. I've thought of new characters I want to involve. I've thought of cool new concepts that I can tie in, and I think I finally allowed myself to think of a first draft as what it is, which is a scrappy piece of shit. Because in my head, a first draft was always going to be somewhat cohesive as a story. This is not going to be that, and I have made peace with that. I feel like I've said that before in this video, but I feel like I've actually made peace with it now. In my head, because I've never got past a first draft, I've always been very sketchy over what the part after that entails. But in my head, I've kind of got a plan for what I want to do once I finish this first draft. So at the moment, I'm feeling proud of myself. I am hitting 10,000 words tonight, if it kills me. I've got a pizza in the oven, so that's coming first. But 10,000 words is happening because that's only 210 words. I always write more than that in a session. I'm treating this first draft as, you know how lots of people when they're plotting use index cards and they stick them on the wall and line them all up. I have tried plotting like that. It doesn't work for me because if I plot it all out in one line in sort of vague strokes, I keep wanting to go into more and more detail, and the more detail I go in, the less interested I get in the story. I think what I've accidentally ended up doing here is each one of these chapters is essentially, I'm treating it as an index card, because when I've finished all of it, I can go back and I can condense that to one line or a couple of lines on an index card, but I will know what all the details are because I've already written them. And I can note down, oh, this, and this were the bits that I liked about this scene, this was the bits of information that it carried and that was important, and all of this can be cut. And once I finish the first draft, I feel like I can then go to the wall with my index cards and stick it all out like that, and have lists of stuff I need to include, things I need to flesh out, things I didn't touch on properly, things that made no sense, and I need to just sort of unpick that. It's nice, this is good. It's hopeful. That's a good word for it. I'm feeling hopeful about it, especially since I'm at 10,000 words and I don't want to rewrite it. That's very pleasing to me. Yeah. It is also 2023 now. I have told myself I will finish this first draft this year. And I think that's reasonable, because I think I was introduced to writing a little bit via NaNoWriMo, and the idea of writing 50,000 words in a month, I told myself that was something I could do. And I think it's taken me this long to work out that no, that's not something I can do. And I write much more slowly than that. And I just have to accept that, and that's fine. Because I don't have a deadline. I don't have someone nagging me. I do this for fun. And if it's not fun, why am I doing it? So at the moment, this is fun. This is good. I also have 8 chapters. No, I'm halfway through that chapter. 7.5 chapters written, which is pretty good. And they all feel, yeah, no, I'm happy. Conclusion of this update, I am happy. Well done, me. I'm oh goodness, taking advantage of George being out of the house to film this clip, which I've been meaning to film for about 4 days. It is last day? Yeah, it's the last day in February. It's 28th. And it happened again. I got to 13,000 words and I scrapped it. Haven't completely scrapped it. But the ideas are still there. The words are just gone. So I got to a point where I just didn't know I couldn't work out what the next scene should be. I didn't know how to write the next scene. And I realised that I didn't know who my bad guy was supposed to be. Because in my head it was just this like vague, shadowy person. And I decided that the ideas I had for that were just too... like, it's been done before, it's just been so done. And I didn't want to write that because I didn't find that interesting. And I decided there had to be a more interesting way of writing this antagonist. So I sat down and I spent a good 2 hours plotting out the book from start to finish, but it meant I had to make some changes. So some characters are no longer that important. They're not going to be in the story as much. I've introduced some new ones, but it just meant that none of the 13,000 words that I'd written was really usable. So it went. And now I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. I have 14 words. Like, just 14. No thousands on there. I think I'm okay with it. Like, the story's going in a better direction as a result. And I think having that plot properly plotted out is going to allow me to focus on the details a bit more, because the details are the bit I find interesting. The ins and outs of how the magic works and how it affects the plants and the animals and things like that. So I'm beginning to wonder if this is just my writing style, where I just write a big chunk. Like, I'm sort of pantsing my way into a plotting... I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I have to write... in order to understand the characters, I have to write. And in my head, writing a first draft was just like, no, just write it all down, come back to it later. I can't come back to some of this later because it's just so different. And I need to know what happens in the beginning in order to make sure that it's affecting what happens afterwards properly. So I think this is just how I work. I'm just going to have to keep writing and rewriting until I get to a point where I can write a first draft and not want to change huge swathes of it before I get to the end. Yeah, that's what we're doing for now. I haven't done a lot of writing recently. I'm writing like a couple of times a month at the moment. There's currently a lot of shit going down in my actual life. Like, I quit my job. I quit my job, I came off my meds, and I'm rehoming 2 of my rabbits. Like, I've got a lot going on at the moment. And writing is still fun. I have to find the motivation. So it's fine. We're just gonna keep plodding on, and maybe next month I will have written some stuff. I'm off work for a little bit, so I'm hoping I can just buckle down and get some of those words back on the page. Hello. It is currently March the 16th and I have written a lot more. I can't remember where I was at before. I think I cannot remember the last thing. So in case I haven't updated everything, I think I reached 13,000 words. Then I realised I didn't like my antagonist, or didn't know who my antagonist was. So I scrapped everything and I started again. But the good news is that I'm now on 19,000 and a half words and I'm on 102.7 hours work. I'm not going to lie, the only reason I have written 19,000 words in however many days is because I've been off work sick. So I've been writing every day and I've gotten into that habit, which is really good. Don't know if that'll last when I go back to work, but I think I got to a point where I needed to plot out every point. So on my dashboard for Campfire, I don't like using their arcs situation because I like to be able to see like a fully detailed description of the scene. So I just bullet point at the beginning, but that's what I had to do. So I had to set out all my plot points visibly so I know where I'm headed. I've got it all up to the sort of the falling action because I still need that to be a surprise. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun to write, and frankly, I haven't thought about it that hard. We're getting there. We're getting there. So I could see myself getting to at least 50,000 words with this project, and I cannot remember. I think I've done that once before in my life, so I'm quite excited that that might happen with this one. Like, this actually feels like it's becoming a real book. I feel like once you get past the 15k mark and you get into like the rising action and things start building, then it's like, oh shit, I'm actually writing a real book. Let's just keep this going. I'm learning to acknowledge when things are not as good as they could be. For example, my protagonist's arc is kind of shit. It's kind of predictable. It's not very interesting to me at the moment, but it's an arc. And I think I can go back and make that better later. Might regret that. I kind of have a subplot going as well, which is very good with my Moslings. We're doing okay. I think in the beginning I was like, oh, I'm going to have this like massive reveal at the end and like everyone's going to be shocked and horrified. It's going to be this huge twist. It's not going to be this huge twist. I don't know how to write it so that it will be a huge twist, so it's just going to be a plot point of the book. But it adds in conflict, and that's fine. I just need to get this first draft finished. I think this is it. Like, I'm nearly at 20,000 words. If I have a problem now, I make notes and I come back to that in the second draft. That's not the first draft's problem. I'm optimistic. We'll see how this goes. Good news is that I've hit 25,000 words on this draft. I wrote in a big twist that I came up with on the spot because it just kind of made sense. And I got very excited about it. And now I don't know where the story's going. I'm not going to rewrite it again. I'm going to keep going. I'm just having a hard time pinning down how I get from where I've put myself to what I imagined the climax would be, and whether or not that climax still makes sense now that I did the big thing at the 25k mark. Because I could do anything. The story's kind of flipped on its head. It's not really a cozy, witchy tale anymore. There's a lot more stakes to it. So that's where I'm at. I'm on 107 hours of work on it. But I haven't written in 2 days, which is quite a big deal because I was writing every day for a good like week and a half. I got a really good run going. But now I'm just not, because I don't know what comes next. And I've tried to do a little bit of brainstorming. I think I'm going to sit down today and try and do some more plot for it. Because what helped last time was to sit down and just bullet point out the plot points in order that I thought would happen. So I think even if I confirm what the big climax is going to be, yeah, I just need some of the bigger plot points. I don't think I need necessarily every scene written out at this point, but I need more sweeping sort of guide scenes. Yes, that's what I need. I think I will do that later. Yeah, turns out when you write 1,000 to like 2,000 words every day, it gets written real fast. So I need to get back into the habit of that, because I could finish this by the end of April at this point, which is that exciting. It's a pretty exciting concept. Well done, me. Hi, writing update. I have hit 42,000 words. Look at me go. Writing has been really sort of up and down recently. Ooh, no lights. Delightful. Hang on. It is currently the 12th of April, 2023. I have spent 120 hours on this book and I've written 42,187 words. I'm pretty chuffed with it. I've found it easier now that I'm past the 35k mark to keep writing, but that said, I'm not writing as frequently. I'm writing in like big fat bursts. Like I sat down and wrote 3,000 words the other day, and then I didn't write anything for 4 days, and then I wrote another like 2,000 words, which is quite a lot for me. I am pleased. It actually feels like I might get to the end because I've gotten past the big climax in the book. I feel like I am more influenced when I see other people talk about their writing, because part of me is convinced that this book is amazing, and if I just clean it up and spend the time I need to clean it up and get everything like tightened and sorted out, then it could be amazing, it could be published. But also I'm also trying to be realistic in the fact that some authors write 5, 10, 15 books that never see the light of day just because they're not good enough. This is the second book I have ever got this far in. The first one was utter fucking rubbish. So I understand that it would be very normal for this book for me to put loads of effort in and to finish it, and for it to just never see the light of day. And that's a little disheartening. So I'm trying to lean towards the slightly more unrealistic of, oh my God, it's going to be like a #1 bestseller, because that chugs me along. That makes me want to actually finish the fucking thing. But I'm also chomping at the bit to start on my next book, which I have the ideas for, which is quite different. Still woodlandy creatures, but first person and modern day, which I think I will find easier to write because there's less world building involved. I'm also past the point in this book where I've got any real plot points. The climax was the big, like, that was my last pillar that I was aiming for, my last guideline. So now I'm just sort of snowballing towards the end. I think I've worked out where I might be taking it, but it's very sort of loosey-goosey. We're just seeing where it goes. I'm really pleased I got this far though. Yeah, I'm proud of myself for writing this many words. I didn't know if I would get that far. I've done so many that just didn't make it past 10k, and now I'm at 42,000 words. Gold star for me. I finished my first draft. I reached 48,000 words. I was initially aiming for 50,000 because that's the number they throw around for NaNoWriMo. And then I got really cocky around the 30,000 word mark and was like, oh, I'll put like up to 60,000 on the tracker that I was doing. But no, I finished it at 48k. I am so sure there's so much more padding. Like I'm under no impression that the final edited thing is going to be anywhere close to 48k. I'm hoping it will be like 20,000 words longer. There is lots that I now know I want to include or know how I want to rearrange the story that I've already plotted out. I've done note cards and I have stored them away with the printed version of that first draft because that has gone in a drawer. I spell checked it because Campfire doesn't do spell check as far as I can tell, so there are a few errors in there. A couple of name changes. I changed some names like 3,000 words before the end. Yeah, it's done. I am so happy it's done. And as I was finishing it, I was itching to move on to my next project because I've had a little idea that's been percolating in the back of my head for an urban fantasy situation that I would really like to write, and I really wanted to write it all the while I was trying to finish this first draft. And then the moment I finished it, I think the fatigue just set in because I finished it last night and I spent all day today just reading. I've done no writing, I've done no plotting. I have everything I need to start. I have notes already on a new Campfire project, but I don't know how long it'll take me to be ready to move on to the next project. I think I need to shuck the shell of the last one before I move on to the next one. Yeah, it's gonna need a lot of editing. I'm under no illusions about how long that's gonna take, but that is not my current problem, and that's fine. There is a part of me that wants to sit down and just start writing it again from the beginning, now that I know all the changes I want to make, but I'm not going to do that because I will go absolutely mad. If I could remember what I'd said in the initial the start of this vlog, I can't even remember what month I started this vlog in. It's been a very fucking long time. And I'm proud of myself for keeping up with this as well. I fully expected to forget about it. And I think filming every time I did a burst of writing really helped, because if anything motivates me, it's being able to post about it online. I have jack shit subscribers, followers, whatever, on any social media website, but just being able to put something out there it holds me accountable. They're like 3 people that see my video. It holds me accountable, and that's nice. It's also, I think, it's like a physical, tangible thing to demonstrate how much fucking effort I put in, because that's my main gripe, I think, with sometimes some of my projects is I don't know that it's always obvious how much effort I put into something. But in this case, I have 263 pages of words that I wrote in a semi-coherent order, and I have a however long vlog that this is going to turn out to be. I am very pleased. I think the trick in the end was to just keep writing. Even if you think it's a dumpster fire that you're leaving behind, chapter after chapter, don't think about what you've just written. Make bullet points of notes about the things you want to change if you know you want to change stuff, and just keep writing. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you need to sit down and replot some stuff to make sure you know where you're going, because that does help. But I think I found the way that works for me. I think if I know how I'm going to get to the climax, what the big thing is going to be in a book, I think I'll be okay. I think that's what I need. I don't really need to know the end. I didn't know what the end of my book was going to be until I'd written it. I think I decided about the chapter before how the book was going to end. So yeah, I'm really proud of myself. Gold star for me. Maybe I'll do another one of these for the editing process, but that's not happening for a few months because, oh my god, I don't have the stamina. If you've watched this whole thing, thanks, I guess. It feels like it's been a very long time for me. I don't know how long this vlog is going to be. It might only be 5 minutes. If you're a writer, and you're trying to finish your first draft, I guess this is the bit where I say just keep writing it. Just sit down and keep writing it. I didn't write every day. I wrote maybe twice a week, if that helps. Just find out what works for you and keep going, essentially. Hey, I thought I had finished filming clips for this video, but I'm just editing the vlog, and a number of things have occurred to me, or have struck me. A number of things have struck me about some of the earlier clips in this vlog. So first off, it is so obvious to me, and I don't know how obvious this is to anyone else, that I was so burned out and depressed for like the first 4 clips, because they were filmed sort of November to January. And I think I mention in almost every clip that work has sucked, even though it's not really relevant to anything. I was working a job that I actively hated, that I needed to be medicated to tolerate. I have literally only just quit that job, and I've spent the last 2 months recovering from severe burnout as a result. So if you were worried about me in the earlier clips, I'm doing so much better now, and I'm so proud of the progress that I've made since then. Yeah, I'm a much happier bunny than I was in the beginning of this vlog. The other thing is that, oh my god, my ideas changed for this story so much, and I was so stuck on on the quality of the first draft. I think there was a little part of me that was like, yeah, if I write it well enough the first time around, I won't have to go back and edit most of it out. That's not how it works. I've already edited a little bit of the book. I managed to put it away for 3 days before I pulled it out again. And I went through and edited, and like, I sort of took stock of what each chapter was, and then identified bits I wanted to cut out, identified chapters that I needed to write in. I got about halfway through the book, and then someone told me to just stop and put it away, and I listened to them. So I put it away again. The way that I look at my first draft now, that it's finished, and the way that I was looking at it while I was editing it, completely different to how I was when I was writing it. It is just, I'm just looking at it like I'm marking it, like I'm a teacher. Like, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to keep working on it. It doesn't matter that it's shit, because I'm going to continue to keep making it better. And I think anyone could have told me that in the beginning, and I wouldn't have listened, and I would have carried on trying to make the first draft as perfect as it could be. And that's kind of pointless. But I wouldn't have listened to you, so I had to learn the hard way. I've also noticed that it's much less of a chore for me to just sit down and write now, which I think is partly due to building up a habit. I mean, writing 48,000 words of a first draft, or whatever it was, on top of the 20k I had to, whatever, writing that many words over 6 months or whatever it was, builds the habit. Because I'm much happier now than I was before, it is much easier for me to just slip into sitting down and doing stuff. I'm much less likely to procrastinate. I find I have more motivation. I'm so much more excited about this and a million other projects that I've got going on, which is really nice. So yeah, I just wanted to add that on the end as a bit of a reflective note, because this was a huge project. I've never done a project this big before, and seeing the change just from November, like it's the last day of April now, is huge. So I've got a long way to go, and I've started writing the next book. Filming it really helped, and I think really helped me show the progression. So yeah, I'm proud of me. Pat on the back, gold star. Gold star for me.